Are you ready for a good time? All right. Welcome to another Lightning Strikes Twice with me, Casey, and that dude over there, Eric. Uh,
Howdy.
five 5 minutes per topic, one topic apiece, and go.
Okay, so mine is kind of inspired by just the other day. I was listening to the radio and people were talking about this, kind of discussing it. It's like a talk show basically, and they were discussing this. And I thought, that's actually a really interesting topic. And that is, what's the right age to start sex education?
Oh yeah, we had a great episode on that. Because I had always kind of wondered that too.
Mhm.
Um,
Especially now
there's
that you are like kind of amidst that, a little bit
right,
raising
yeah,
somebody.
um, yeah. I think they kind of handled that on the early side here, if
Mhm.
I'm not mistaken. Um, and I mean, like that kind of makes sense. Like have that in the back of your head before all the hormones starts
Yeah,
flowing and everything.
I think
But at
that's
the same
fair.
time, a lot of stuff doesn't really make sense yet.
Well, exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, it's like, okay, I think, like me personally, if I were raising a kid, I'd be, open dialogue and honesty and stuff. I think that's the best policy. But like, you don't have to necessarily go into too much detail early on. Just kind of give people a sense and slowly expand as they mature, and because they're not really going to understand things. And but I think you're right. Like giving people kind of a few more tools in their toolbox before they're hit with all these hormones and weird things start happening and stuff. Because I think also too, just not just sex in general, but your development, all the weird changes that happen to your body that people are ashamed of and stuff and feel strange
Yeah,
about and don't understand. Like, hey, maybe if you knew that that was going to happen and how it's going to happen well before it did, it'd be no big deal. Or maybe you'd be
proper
more,
hygiene
yeah,
um, just in general, like, well, okay, so Germany, as kind of an overall rule, is not so prudish about things like nudity and, like, let's say sexual innuendo or
mhm,
anything like that. Where I mean, like, they'll tame it a little bit during like prime time hours,
yeah.
uh, but for the most part, like you'll see breasts on TV,
Or billboards.
billboards.
France
Yeah, like,
has similar things. Yeah.
yeah, and that's the right attitude, like.
I think
And
so because, well, what that does too is it shows that, hey, there's nothing wrong with the human body, um,
mhm,
and you get to see all kinds of human bodies and realize there's a lot of diversity there, and maybe you're not weird. Also, I think it's important to kind of like not like put out this notion that sex is bad or you should be, oh, it's a taboo thing. I think that's harmful. I think we should be open about it and not shame people for it. And because
right.
honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. And that's another thing too. If it's societally accepted to talk about sex or be sexual, well, then it's not a taboo thing that kids do to like get back at their parents or rebel or something. Like, oh yeah, it's nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it, yeah. So maybe that would go a long way to
Well, maybe not calling it sex education and like
mm,
separating it from everything else.
yeah.
And like, I remember as a kid, I had to bring home a permission slip to learn about sex and have my parents sign it. And it's like that, like, made it embarrassing, you
I
know?
think I
It,
think calling it human development would be a better way.
I mean,
Also,
just integrate it to your biology class,
well, yeah,
like,
but as a
oh, today
category
we're
of,
talking about sexual organs,
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. It's also something that I think shouldn't necessarily be limited to a school environment. It's also important for parents to participate in that because that's part
right.
of, we want to teach our kids important lessons to help them through life. And that's one of the things, is probably one of the bigger things that you need to know about. because, well, yeah, you could get stuck with your whole entire life being completely altered by one action.
Yeah. The cog in the machinery there is religion as usual,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
because you get enough people in the gene pool that haven't properly been exposed to an upbringing that, let's say, fosters a healthy attitude towards sex.
Mm.
Then yeah, you're going to have problems that leak into the rest of society.
Oh, sure.
Um,
But that's what I'm saying about removing the taboo nature. That
yeah.
it should be a thing that it's just a normal thing, right? Oh, damn. Okay,
Oh
that's
damn.
time. Man, that could go on for a long time. That's a good one.
All
All right, so
right.
it's your turn now.
Okay. Well, um, this kind of might tie in a little bit as far as like school and education and stuff, but I've seen a lot of heat lately about DEI. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, yeah.
This diversity, equity, inclusion thing, and
Mhm.
the other side of the fence, let's say, is calling it didn't earn it. Um, so it,
Well, you could rearrange those letters and it spells die too. So
right.
that's kind of
Darn.
yeah.
So what are your general thoughts on that? Like it basically evolved out of affirmative action. So
um, man, that I don't know that 5 minutes is really enough time, but I guess I think a lot of people who kind of uh, emphasize this DEI stuff, their hearts in the right place, but I think the implementation is a little over the top, shall we say, sometimes, and maybe a little myopic. That it doesn't really. I don't think it will have the effect that they believe it will have. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of pushback from other people who say, hey, this is a little too draconian. It's a little too much. It's overwhelming. And so, yeah, I think the implementation is awful in a lot of
right.
cases and doesn't really do anything, honestly.
The
I think,
biggest problem I have is you can't really force a statistical model into real life.
no,
Like
no. I think a
it
lot of
just
it
doesn't
is
work that way.
I think for a lot of like, especially when you're talking organizational level stuff, not individuals, but an organization, it's like moral grandstanding. Basically, it's like
Yeah.
it's just if they're just doing it for the optics, they don't really believe in these things. But the thing is, if everybody else is doing it and they're not doing it, then they're going to be like, oh, you're one of those guys. So I think that's a harmful thing in itself because it's like, okay, we should be allowed to question things and you know um, people should be allowed to implement things in different ways or implement nothing at all and shouldn't be judged or criticized necessarily
Yeah.
for that. And on the flip side, if somebody is doing that, whatever, that's their choice. As long as it's not a government organization like something with some kind of totalitarian authority mandating everybody do this. If it's just a company, well, you could go work for a different company. You know, it's no big deal.
Well, I mean, the whole side, like the didn't earn it side or whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, that's also a bit too harsh. I think like
I agree. Well, like I
the
said, their heart is in
the
the right
concept of
place.
having to earn the right to survive,
Or
it
to
doesn't
not
sit well
be
with me.
to at least be accepted into society. That's
Mm-hmm.
really, as far as I'm concerned, like the most important aspect of that we
Yeah,
all accept people as being people,
yeah.
even with their
Like
flaws.
if there is like, I mean, I kind of uh, stray from you on the opinion of like whether or not businesses should be allowed to, um, let's say, exercise discretion
Mm-hmm.
to an umpteenth level, let's say, because if there is actual discrimination, that's outright wrong
Oh, I
anyway.
agree. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Even if it's whichever direction it is, it's wrong.
yeah, trouble is proving that stuff. Like
That's
that's
yes.
almost impossible.
Well, and it is
Maybe it is impossible.
it, a lot of this is a product of kind of a perfect storm of multiple moral panics and various other things going on that like it it's over the top because of that. like it's not necessarily driven by organic changes within society. It's something else. And I think in that's kind of potentially bad. It could lead us in the wrong direction. And certainly it obviously divides people. I mean, now I've heard multiple or read multiple stories about, say, like a college event, right? Some kind of talk or whatever. They say no whites allowed. Like, okay, where, you know, how do we get to
Mm,
that now? Like I thought we don't we want like some kind of equality essentially and acceptance of everybody, no matter who they are. Um, isn't that the goal, right? So how come it's gone so far that direction that it's kind of wrapped around to basically be what existed before? That's not good. That's not a good thing for
right.
society, honestly. Like, and the sins of the father shit that's been going around too, that's tied in with that, like white fragility and all this. It's like, oh God, what?
Yeah, all of these virtue signaling things always kind of rub me the wrong way. Like, eh, like you said, heart's in the right place, but
Yeah.
is it though? Like you can tell that they're just trying to poke you with a stick and like get some kind of reaction.
Yeah.
And when you have that reaction, they're like, look, see, we have a racist or we have a
Yeah.
sexist or we
Yep.
have an
If you
this it's
if you
you know
question it at all, you're a racist.
Yep.
That's time. Uh, yeah. Oh, there just a few follow-up thoughts here. I mean, because this is like a big one, and maybe we can kind of wrap this into another episode because there's a lot of different angles. There's the whole um, like gender and race swapping of previous, like within movies or TV shows or whatever. Which, like, okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with that on its own, but it's kind of like all the time. Like it's the
Yes.
default stance. And that smacks of that smacks of racism to me.
Yeah.
And actually, another note, which I don't know, I started noticing this trend because I, turned on ads on YouTube, and it was just really weird. And I just thought, am I tripping? But I noticed like it seemed like a very large proportion of ads were like only black people, and I thought, well, that's really strange. Is YouTube kind of serving me up things they think maybe? But no, this is like major corporations that selling big products and things. And on my work computer, same thing. And I was like, that's really strange. So I actually tracked that, and it's kind of weird. It's like almost half of the ads that I saw that were not like CG or robo generated, like AI ads or ads for shitty products, like fake products. Um, it's all black people, and I'm like, what? That's really strange. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but to me, it feels like something like that, where they're pushing so hard in the other direction as to make it kind of like imbalanced proportionally to the population. Really weird. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever, but it's just a very strange thing, and I'm wondering like where's that coming from?
Yeah, that would be a good episode to do one day.
Yeah.
Um, we'll invite people to check that out.
Yes.
Watch this space.
Exactly. All right. Well, take it easy, everybody. Enjoy and chat it up in the comments section down there.